still take a little bit time for a small panel discussion to review somewhat what we have learned and to put this into a larger context. So I would like to welcome 4 panelists to discuss briefly what we just learned. We have on board Pavel from DG FISMA, Karla from GLEIF, Carlos from EBA, and Paul from the Dutch Central Bank. I would like to ask you briefly to present yourself. Maybe first give the floor to Pavel.
Hello again, and thanks for very interesting presentations and the information that I have learned actually during this morning. I am an economic analyst in Director General for Financial Stability Services and the Capital Markets Union in the European Commission, and I'm a project manager for our supervisory data strategy in financial services. That is a project that is closely linked, or for which the DPM Refit and standardization is very relevant. I will stop there.
Maybe Paul, if you could briefly introduce yourself.
Yes, Derek, thank you. So my name is Pavel Hulst. I work for the Dutch Central Bank. As an IT architect, I can provide some guidance on how to implement XBRL for all the data collection that we do using XBRL. And next to that, I'm also a board member of XBRL Netherlands and Eurofiling.
DPM Refit is a project to evolve what we have learned, the way of structuring and modeling supervisory reporting obligations into a broader and more comprehensive coverage of the specifications based on all the experience and learnings we had. We have learned about building blocks like unified data model, the use of open standards like ISO and XBRL, and it's of very high value that 2 ESAs have joined forces to make all of this happen. So DPM Refit brings new elements to the floor, like a better covering data model, an expression language for validation rules, and also an evolution of the XBRL reporting format. All of that brought together. A few questions. Maybe the first question I will then ask to Pavel from DG FISMA. Well, you witness now the DPM Refit project and the timeline and all the things we are trying to do. How does this fit in the European context, and more precisely in the strategy on supervisory data in EU financial services? Please, Pavel.
Thank you, Derek. To answer the question, I will first start with a short introduction on context of the supervisory data strategy, so that it becomes clear, or more easy to place the DPM Refit within it. Supervisory data strategy is a result, and it's based on the result of a fitness check exercise that we've done some time ago to check how reporting in the EU in the financial services works, and it aims. So the supervisory data strategy aims to address the weaknesses identified there, which is mostly efficiency and consistency in the reporting. And the objective of the strategy is to modernize and simplify the supervisory reporting. Now, it aims to deliver 4 main building blocks, which Mary Rimanen already mentioned in her email, but I'll repeat them quickly, which is a standardized data, and with a cornerstone being a single and common data dictionary, data sharing, so improved data sharing as a second building block, and the third being the better design of the reporting requirements. So this is on the legislation side, level 1, level 2 legislation, and then finally the governance structure, deliver a governance structure for this new improved reporting system. Now, the approach to implement the strategy that the Commission has taken is gradual and balanced to manage the costs of transition, and also not to rush changes that are not thought through and can bring more problems than solve, and balanced in terms of sectoral and cross-sectoral horizontal implementation. And so the sectoral part is a very important plays an important role in the strategy, and the Commission has provided mandates and empowerments to the ESAs to advance the consistency and integration in their sectors. And now we come to the DPM Refit. So DPM Refit clearly contributes directly to standardization in banking and insurance, and therefore to the objectives of the supervisory data strategy. However, the DPM Refit is not the whole story as we see it, as we keep in mind the ultimate goal of consistency across sectors and across different authorities. So this is something to keep in mind and to tackle in the future.
Is lifted as an ISO standard 5116. It was for a SEN standard for a long time, so last year it became an ISO standard, and it's useful to reflect on the value of these standards later on. The impact of DPM refits may be a question to Carlos. How do you see it impacting the ESAs, or the European supervisory agencies?
From the EBA experience, as we explained earlier, we have been, let's say, taking note of a number of shortcomings related to basically the evolution of the challenges and requirements that come with new mandates, with the new ITSs. So what started only with the early version of COREP and FINRA has been extended to many more different types of data collections. We want to go further with the data dictionary, making it, let's say, the single dictionary at TBA level. So, meaning going beyond what is today the scope of data collected on the ITS and moving to other data collections. So, as you know, we have things like the BIS reporting, we have stress test, we have ad hoc data collections, and we, of course, would like to integrate all of those in the same seamless process to collect data and then to store the data and to validate and to derive new data, and then finally to analyze it and eventually expose it to public. So basically, we need better support to the whole life cycle of data processing that we have at TBA. So this was, as I said, probably the initial trigger to to initiate this type of effort. Of course, we also want to evolve in terms of communication of the data requirements with the other stakeholders. So having better products for data definition, having better communication with the stakeholders, being able to offer much more better comprehension of the model itself, how to explore the model, how to understand what are the changes from one release to the next. So all of this are areas where we want and we need to evolve. Another thing is also, so if you, as you already understood, at EBA, the DPM is really, the core component of everything. In some way or another, all our different platforms and systems that relate to reporting, to regulatory data, and even other types of data, they are somehow related to the DPM. So what we need to ensure that our let's say data ecosystem that is now pretty complex with everything that we've been adding with moving to Euclid, including more and more data collections, extending now to the area of data processing and data dissemination into an automated pipeline. All of this, all of this is relying on this central component, which is the data dictionary. It should be something very robust. And currently, it's not robust in the sense that the management is still based on tools that were developed in-house to basically growing a bit organically and to facilitate the process. But this is let's say this is currently also kind of a risk, because these tools are not robust enough to be let's say part of our new data architecture, which is becoming very complex. So basically what I'm saying is we felt the need to have better tools, more reliable, more robust. There was no point to do this effort on top of a DPM for which we had already highlighted a number of shortcomings. So all of this together gave basically the trigger, and not only the trigger, but the need to address this change on the DPM Refit, which now we have basically come to the final stage. What will be the impact on this? So apart from all these expected benefits, it's really a challenge, because if everything is depending on DPM, changing the DPM from the current one to something new, while at the same time having to keep doing everything that we do, is really a very complicated task. So the train is moving, we need to basically to change the engine while it's still moving. So it's a challenge that we still need to define much better how this will happen. So, but this will be kind of a complicated project in itself. So then talking a bit, outside of the EBA, of course, the other major goal is to achieve this same approach, this harmonization with IOPA, who has basically the very, very similar situation to the EBA. So we want to remove differences and basically to be able to use exactly the same technical support, the same approach, the same methods. Needless to say that the data itself will still be different. We may still not be sharing the same glossary, the same harmonization in terms, which, of course, as Pavel just said, it's a very important part of the goals for the full harmonization of reporting across all data domains. But from our perspective, this is kind of a precondition. This needs to be achieved first, and then we will gradually move. Does not need to be like a big bang approach. We can move gradually to integrate the glossaries across different data domains. So the benefits for the users are quite obvious, but I think they're also obvious for the CAs, at least for those that need to relate to, in this case, both the EBA and the IOPA. So on their side, currently they need to deal with two data dictionaries that are quite similar but not exactly the same. So in real terms, in practice, they will need to run different systems, or they will need to run processes to integrate everything in the same system, in the same data dictionary, what we are doing is basically to produce something which will make this process, let's say, simple, because it's the same meta model. So integrating data from different owners should become a very simple process, which will then enable on the CA side to have the same system to manage these two different data domains. This will also open the door for the CAs to make their own extensions. So of course we know that there are not only the frameworks that are published by the ISOs, but also some national data collection, the national frameworks. Hopefully this can be also, let's say, included, extended from the DPM Refit. For this to be possible, of course, there is a need to have the tools, but this is where the DRR tooling project will also hopefully deliver something that can be used and shared with others. So that's, yeah, basically what I would have to say on this topic.
Yes, thank you, Carlos. So you described a little bit the whole topic in the DPM as a beating heart of everything. This is how it sounds. What would be the view, Paul, question for you on all of that for the NCAs? And Carlos already gave a little bit a heads up with the principle of extensions.
Yes, thank you, Derek. Well, looking at the impact on the NCAs, I'd like it to break it down in a few areas. First of all, taxonomy, let's say, use, like the ones provided by the EBA. Looking at what we do is, of course, always validate any incoming report. I don't expect any changes or significant impact there. As Carlos and others already said, whatever comes out will fit within the XBRL specification. So validation will still work, even though, let's say, that the internal structure of the taxonomy has slightly changed. What I do expect, again, continuing the use of taxonomies, have an impact is, let's say, the internal disclosure that we do of XBRL data. We have let's say, a data warehouse or data mart that is built upon the current structure used by DPM. So we do have something like a taxonomy in it. So if the DPM refit removes the structure element of a taxonomy, we need to accommodate. Similarly, versioning of enumerations, that's again something that we need to make sure that we then show correctly. So that means that we need to do some work, and that might be quite a lot, to make sure that our internal use of XBRL data still works in the intended way once DPM refit has its effect on EBA and EIOPA taxonomies. Meanwhile, of course, we also need to keep on supporting the current structure, because people would like to see data from the past and, let's say, the future versions of DPM. So that will make it quite complex structure. So that's some work that we need to do within the NCAs to just keep on being able to use the data. And then, as Carlos already mentioned, creating taxonomies themselves, we currently do not create extensions to the EBA taxonomy. What we do is create our own taxonomy, so for national reporting, and looking at it today, roughly, let's say, half of the taxonomies that we use are created by ourselves. So that's quite a lot. Next to all the taxonomies that we get from EBA, EIOPA, SRB, ECB, we have roughly the same amount of taxonomies created ourselves. So what we've always done there is follow let's say, the European supervisory agency approach, meaning, as I said, the current DPM, in order to make it as easy as possible for everybody reporting to us. to be able to understand our taxonomies. So once the EBA and EIOPA move, we will most likely follow the same approach. It will also enable us to solve some of the problems that we've encountered ourselves, and like Carlos already mentioned, or Heidsen, the versioning of enumerations. That's something that we've also run into. So finding a solution that's again the same as done by the EBA will make it easier for everybody using our taxonomies to understand what we're doing. So that's something that we will probably have to do. It does, of course, mean that we need to change the software that we currently use to create taxonomies. And that will again be quite a challenge. There are quite a lot of changes in the setup of taxonomies. So that will certainly have an impact on us. Similarly, as Carlos said, it's also an opportunity to look at the software that we currently use. There are improvements needed there. Just as Carlos said, it has evolved over time. So a reset would benefit the complete structure. And again, perhaps it may also enable us to go to a, let's say, application provided by a commercial software vendor, replacing our, let's say, in-house developed one. And for that reason, it would be very beneficial if DPM Refit would in itself be a standard. Just like let's say the current DPM approach is an ISO standard. Software developers can create an application based on a standard. It would in the same way be useful to us if the DPM Refit, let's say, approach is also standardized in an update to the ISO standard, which will hopefully trigger software vendors to see this as an opportunity to create indeed an application that could serve many customers. So to summarize, it's a lot of work. It also brings opportunities to improve our way of working. That's it, Derek.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. With all of these opinions and things we heard, it's time for me to wrap up and to thank, first of all, the speakers, Ana Teresa, Mary, Carlos, Bartosz, Antonio, Heidsen, and Aitor, and to the panelists, Pavel, Carlos, and Paul, and of course to the audience. We had at the peak near 200 people listening and dialing in, so thank you very much for being with us. There is going to be other occasions like this later this year and next year. With that, I want to close this first part of the DPM Refit seminar. I invite those of you who are interested to stay on for the open filing assembly, which will be hosted by Ignacio Boiso. Thank you and see you next time.